questions. One, do you have any tips for young actors? And two, Steve, can I hear you sing?
I can sing for him if you want.
I think this is your singer. Second question, no.
No pressure, Steve.
And what was the first question? Tips for young actors. Don't do it! If you must do it, I highly recommend that you get as much training as you can. And I don't just mean acting, I mean movement, mime, singing, any vocal exercising. Don't specify one particular one particular field. Learn as much as you can. Tap dancing, jazz dancing, so you can move through a set without tripping over the furniture. So you can align your body. So sometimes when you do, one of the great things about the walk was we got Zemeckis talking about the movies that he made. And we ended up all going back to Joe's hotel room, and we almost every night we watched a Zemeckis movie because we were all like, and then he found out about it. He was like, so you watched one of those movies last night. Which one did you watch? And I was like, we watched Contact. He would tell us great stories, right? So he told us, for example, Jodie Foster most of the time in that movie was contorted and twisted, had to deliver her lines in these kind of strange positions because of where she was. And so to prepare yourself for something like that, you want to be limber, you want to be loose, you want to be, and so you have to train as much as you can in every aspect of voice, body, and acting so that you're ready when the role comes. When you're a big name, you get 6 months to work on a part. The rest of us have to pull it off straight away. So work on your accents, work on your, and keep at it, okay? And always listen to them.
Versatility, seriously.
Yeah.
And even something like voiceover where they can't see you. I'm as physical doing voiceover as I am if I'm on stage. They just don't see it, So yeah, and hey, since we're talking about physical things, what about martial arts? All these things, not just because that way you can, pretend to beat people up on camera, but because you're stretching the capabilities of what your body can do, and you're keeping it in shape, stay in shape.
Stage combat is a great thing. Stage combat, fencing, balance.
Yeah, well, that's right. I did a little fencing when I was about your age, actually. I was in Pirates of Penzance. I was 14, freshman year of high school. Yeah, seriously. Me? No.
I thought the movie for a moment. You meant. Okay.
Sorry, no. Sam Tail High School. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, you thought I was Kevin Kline?
No.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm going to say I love your arm. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, we did theatrical fencing. I was 14, and that was awesome. You're 14 years old. They hand you this sword. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, what he said, plus the martial arts.
There you go. Next. A little bit of that.
So, obviously, we enjoy y'all being Hancock and Alice there. Have either of you played the games to interact with your characters?
Excellent question.
Yeah.
I'm never sure how to deal with this because I know obviously if I were like this hardcore gamer, you guys would all be one of us. And I am one of you, but not as a gamer. Okay, I played it once at my friend's house, 10 minutes. He saved it for me so I could meet Hancock. And first thing I did was I started shooting him. I just shot him, and I was amazed at how casual he was about the whole thing. It was like, I wasn't even doing anything. Joining you. It was fun, and I should fucking play it more. Anyone have it on their phone? Fallout on your phone someday. Probably not that far in the future. So yeah, that's my Fallout experience. Pathetic, I know. Oh, it's a good story, at least.
I'm not a gamer. I have a very addictive personality, so I know I don't have time to sit and do 6 hours a day. Just because I just don't hadn't seen the character in action. I've received many links over the years on Twitter. Versions of the game I don't remember Alistair was bisexual, did you know that? So I feel like, yeah, I know the character. And then for Uncharted, what was great was it was motion capture, so we were there. And then I was lucky enough when we were doing gameplay, when we were chasing, Nolan and I were being chased through this amazing landscape that they built. I actually got to see it as we were recording it. So that's the one time that Nolan and I were in the studio together, doing voiceover back and forth and completely improvising, which is why it's really inappropriate and really rude and kind of awesome. So I saw the game there, but I hadn't really played the game. You know? And you know what's not true? I went to visit Comic-Con a couple of years back, and I went to visit the BioWare booth, which was outside of the convention. It was awesome set up. And they sat me down, and I completely embarrassed myself. And that was, so yes, technically I could say it. 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched those.
And it's a surreal experience, don't you think, to see your voice coming out of the character and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Life is surreal. But yeah, I've watched a lot of clips. I know people post that stuff, and that's always nice. So I've watched more than I've played. Just, my video game chops are not that great, a couple times. Yeah. Next question.
Keep them coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've answered the question, what was your favorite role? So what is your least favorite role you've ever played?
You go for it. So many.
I don't know. I mean, it's nice to work. I'll tell you that.
It is nice.
It's nice to work. But, there sometimes it's like, maybe a commercial you don't really feel that great about. Not that it makes you feel yucky, but you're not like, hey! Or maybe a technical video that you just, you're looking at your watch. Assuming you wear one, I don't.
But you're trying to look for it anyways.
What's that?
You're trying to look for one anyways.
I'm trying to look for my watch anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
I gotta go. You don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, more than anything, it's nice to work.
Yeah.
So it's I can't really say oh, that was terrible. Maybe you got a good that was terrible story.
I think for me, it's not so much the role, because when you accept a role, you know what you're getting into. I think it's the people you work with and your experience that will either make it or break it. For me, one of the worst experiences I had was Charmed. It was just a horrible set to work on. It just was. There were very rude people on that set. I wouldn't say rude, but there were some people that had their fucking heads, and you had to deal with that. This is one of the shows that the crew couldn't wait to leave at the end of the day. And then you work with a director who is a complete ass. I did a commercial. Who's the guy that's famous? Director. He's a commercial director. He's very hard on his actors. And I remember being in a commercial, and he was hard on an actress who was next to me who brought her to tears. And you're kind of like, it's just not worth it, So for me, a role is a role. It's great to work. I'm always grateful to have a job. The stuff that I don't want to play, I don't accept. I'll turn it down. Recently I turned down something because I'm just kind of tired of playing kind of big, over-the-top, campy parts. I want to do some kind of darker layered stuff. So something came through, and it was this kind of fashion designer, and I was like, I don't do that anymore, otherwise I would have been miserable outside. I know that. So it's really the people that do it.
Yeah, I actually want to follow up. Advice for young actors: be somebody that people want to work with. There are assholes who do really well, but there are probably, in spite of being assholes, maybe, I don't know. Be somebody people want to work with. That's in any field, of course, but especially in shows where people are expendable.
I'll tell you why. Because believe it or not, it's a really small town. Everyone talks. So if I remember I went to an audition recently, and this guy was talking to his buddy, and we were all kind of reading for the same role. And his friend says to this guy, he says, so how are you doing? How was the series? And he goes, yeah, the series ended. And he He goes, so what are you doing now? He says, well, I'm kind of in actor jail because I was a real dick during the series to everybody, and then nobody will hire me now for a series regular because the producers talk amongst themselves. And the same thing happened when I started producing. There's a series called Gourmet Detective, and we're casting the roles. And I was on that side of the camera. And we're like, this person looks like an interesting actor. And then you ask around, have you worked with this person? Have you heard any stories? So it will always come back at you. It will always be how you act on set is more important to the producers than how you act, because they want to have a smooth running set. They want to know that when you turn up, you're going to know your lines, you're going to hit your marks, you're going to be there for the off-camera, which is, believe it or not, there are so many actors who are like, I'm going to my trailer. I can't tell you the number of times I've done a role where I'm doing my scene, and it's my close-up, and the actor is in their trailer, and I'm reading with a PA. I'm like doing a love scene or something, and the guy's there going, oh yeah, but I love you. To the point where I'm like, I don't need him. I can hear it in my head. I'd rather you step away, and I'll just act it. So the biggest thing you can do is to be professional, polite, and know your shit. And grateful. Like, know everybody's name when you arrive on set. Simple things, right? Remember your hair and makeup. Remember the director. Remember the PAs. Remember their names. They're just as excited or they're having just as tough a time as you are. And they're usually doing longer hours. They're there for, I worked with an actress who used to complain all the time about it's 5 o'clock and her baby's at home and she wants to go. And you're like, these guys are working till 18, they're working till 11, midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. They all have families. They all have kids. They want to go home to their families too, you know? So it's those little things that will make a difference, because then when you get to know people as a polite person, they'll want to talk to you. And as they want to talk to you, they'll converse with, they'll learn about you, and then maybe they'll write more for you. I mean, be mercenary about it. This is, in Crossing Jordan, I was talking to the writers on the times when I was guest starring, the writers and the producers, every time they came to set, I'd be at the coffee place and I'd be chatting away, and I'd be like dropping ideas for episodes, you know, a bit obnoxious, but it was, they listen to you, they take your life, they take your persona, and they write that into the script. But yeah, you gotta be someone you want to hang with. Be someone that you want to hang with, and other people want to hang with.
Anyone else?
I know how both of those universes, Valentine and Dragon Age, have huge lore stories going on. I was wondering how much you know about it going in, usually? Dragon Age wasn't quite as
Great question. I'm going to start on that one, because when I was first doing this job, I didn't know it was Fallout. They don't tell you that. They tell you it's everything's need to know. And they don't want you to know anything beyond what you have to. So, as far as I know, I knew I was working on a project called Angelina. That was the code word for Fallout. They just, they want to keep things secret. So for the first, it was a year and a half off and on that I was working on that. For the first year, I didn't know it was Fallout. And then finally someone left the script out and said Fallout. I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. And then sometimes, even within the context of individual, right, exactly. Speaking about not burning bridges and the someone people want to work with, loose lips sink ships. Where was I? Okay, on. Oh, right. So, yeah, mythology. So yeah, I didn't even know, even within each individual line, that's what I was saying. They only give you as much context as you need to be to plausibly deliver the line. So sometimes you kind of really don't know what's going on. Maybe they're giving you an analogous situation that you can apply to. They don't want to tell you too much. That was my experience. But once I knew it was, then I started to research stuff. I wanted to know more about it. And coincidentally, I found out that my band we'd actually covered I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire before I knew anything about Fallout. I know, talk about kismet. It was serendipity. It was nice. So, I'm certainly no expert by any means. You guys know way more than I do, but I pick up a few things here and there. Any game that advocates a little drug use is fine. Earmuffs. Your turn.
Right. I do remember the question, and everything he said basically. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. Maybe they'll show you a diagram of what your character looks like. I just asked for a six-pack. Totally, yeah. Duplicated. And they'll give you the analogy. I think that, you know, the mythology and the lore is so extensive that we had to sit and have someone go, okay, so there are these worlds, and there are these elves, and there are these people, and there are these wardens, and then this happens, and this happens. You would just be kind of like, because you just can't take it all in. So you learn by doing. You learn by doing. And by the end of all the sessions, you kind of know what the game is, kind of, but still. Like, the good thing is that you have the writer on the phone, usually. Did you find that? Was the writer there, or were you kind of...
I don't even know. I can't even tell you who it was at this point. There was a voice in my headphones.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think it was obviously something like that. Basically, yeah, a director here, I've got somebody who's continuity on their laptop, and then there's a voice in the headphones. I know who they are, and that's what I've done.
I was lucky to have David there the whole time. David did, so I mean, he knew everything that was going on with David, and so that was very, I guess, unusual. I don't know, but and then when we did Uncharted, Amy was there all the time. So Amy had she was there. She's getting honored this weekend in Los Angeles for BAFTA. She's doing great work that she's done. Yeah, she's amazing. Yes. Alright, next question. In the back there, gentlemen. I'll let you know.
Look, I hate to clash because, you know, they did give me this audition, but yeah, man, you ever satisfied with doing?
No one is.
Really? I thought it was just me.
I know people that with CAA who bitch and moan. You know, an agent will only give you so far, and they really do 10% of the work, and it's really up to you to do the rest of it. And I probably, you know, Mark Short said something years ago that he changes his agent every 2 to 3 years whether he needs to or not. And yeah, he does. And I used to do that. Now I'm with someone I like. And you know, it's like anything else. It's like a relationship. It's either going to get hot and passionate, or it's going to stagnate. They're going to take you for granted, or forget they have you, and you have to be reminded of pigeonholing all the time. It's the main reason why I would be a voiceover agent, is because I want to do something different than the other guys who are not submitting. I would say follow what this guy said here about getting a good demo reel. Create your own. Luckily, we live in a world now where you can create your own demo reels and it sounds like the real thing, right? Even on GarageBand you can do it. There's no reason not to have. There's no reason not to have a demo. I mean, I know, I'm too lazy to go on and get all
You guys know about this? Basically, your demo does not have to represent work you've actually done, because you're starting out, you haven't really done anything. It's a demonstration of what you could do. And listen, do research. It's all, you know, everything's on the internet. Do research because the formats tend to be pretty rigid. There's not a lot of, you don't want to get too creative with the format. You know what I mean? Because these are business people. You want to be too creative.
So how many pieces do you have on yours?
Well, I don't have just one. I've got my commercial reel, I've got my narration reel, I've got my character reel. There's even like a more technical kind of narration reel that I don't do much with. Generally, each reel is about, you know, a minute-ish. That kind of changes. Sometimes you can go a little bit over. You just want it to be snappy. You want the edits to be tight. You want it to move along. And you want it to show a variety of what you can do. I'm someone who likes to do a wide variety of stuff. My taste is eclectic. I feel like I can, you know, my voice and my talents are, they're wide-ranging, but it's tough because in the business, I think they do want to try. Sometimes it's just your agent trying to remember who you are out of the whole stable of people they have. So, I don't know, it's kind of a balance between, you want them to think of you, at least in one way, hopefully in a few, but at the same time you don't want to get stuck doing that same thing. Unless that's the only thing you can do, in which case, great, I envy you. You know? What were we talking about?
Making a demo reel.
Oh, making a
How
demo.
much time
Yeah.
do we have? What was it, 1 to 2? Was that the official?
She's exactly right.
So should we do one more question each? And then... Sure. All right. Who would like to ask?
The final question.
Over there, lady there. Hi.
What's your favorite genre of voiceover?
Favorite genre of voiceover?
Strictly voiceover? Or do you mean like just kind of art in general? Moving picture type art?
Like, what's your favorite genre? Like action?
No, I know what genre means. I was a film study major. You know, actually, I like stuff that is not easily pigeonholed into genres. Like my favorite, the stuff I enjoy is stuff that's maybe a piece of this and has elements of that and kind of that, and maybe, or maybe it takes like this standard thing and it warps it a little bit. I mean, I like to enjoy the work of visionary, creative, innovative people. That's what inspires me. You know, Terry Gilliam is one of my all-time favorites. You know, hey, have you ever seen a film called City of Lost Children? Yeah. I'm talking about almost 14. Check it out. That's actually
Then
Janae
watch
Carr.
Lost in La Mancha. Have you ever seen Lost in La Mancha? You
Yeah.
learn about everything that can go wrong in a production.
Even if you're a genius, especially if you're a genius.
Especially if you're a genius. Does anybody here know that movie?
I've heard of it.
It's about Terry Gilliam trying to make Don Quixote film, and failing. Everything goes wrong.
Everything goes wrong.
Save that for after you watch Brazil.
Yeah. Johnny Depp's in the movie, but they're filming in the countryside, and then they're filming in the countryside, and then suddenly they realize that it's an Air Force testing area, so there's a jet plane to go over. They get a sound stage that's made of metal, so everything echoes. An actor who has a heart attack halfway through the production. The funding, it's heartbreaking. And I understand he's trying to make it again.
Still trying to make
He's trying to make
Terry
it.
Gilliam, he is Don Quixote. What is this
Yeah.
called, right?
It's called Lost in La Mancha. It was basically supposed to be like an additional feature on the DVD, like the making of, and it ended up being the film. It's absolutely fantastic. The best documentaries are those that take a left turn that even the documentarian didn't think it was going to happen. That's what happens here. And to answer your question, for me, I have no favorite genre. I like to do different jobs, and so if one day I'm doing like a wacky voice on Mickey Road Races, and the next time I'm doing something dark and menacing, that makes me happy. I just like variety, and actually, there's a mantra as an actor that you don't judge your characters, that you don't judge the work you're doing, because you may play a serial killer. And if you judge him, like, well, I don't want to play this, he's a horrible person. You know, how can I justify this character? It's not your job to justify the character, it's your job to play the character. And that if you try to kind of judge him, that will come through in the performance. So, I don't know why I said that, but anyway, that's just kind of, it's a thing about, looking at a villainous role, for example. He's not a villain in his own mind. He thinks he's right. Quite often when you look at people who are dictators, they don't think of themselves as evil dictators. They're just trying to do what they think is right for their country, as screwed up as it often has been. That's how you approach that to keep it fresh and interesting.
You may all be villains and not even know.
I don't like that. We're good, yeah? All right.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we wanted to just also mention that don't forget about our cosplay auction that's going on. We are taking bids on characters that you can spend some time at the Masquerade Ball. We've got Hancock. No idea who that is. And we have Alistair and Fenris and we have Morgan.